All right, little update on the car. We got the Subaru WRX here. Cam buckets over there. We did pull this motor. This is 2.0. I don't think it's ever been replaced or pulled to my knowledge. Still looking for cam buckets, so there should be a set of 16 cam buckets in here. So didn't want to do this yet. I wanted to wait, but I'm gonna go ahead and pull the timing cover off, pull the timing belt, pull the cam gears, pull the valve covers, pull the cams, pull the cam buckets, look at them all, see if they're anywhere close to anything that I need, and then we'll either put those in or have to order some new ones. All right, gonna start with the timing cover. Looks like it's a bunch of 10mm bolts. Looks like that one's missing. I'm gonna do a little sweep video
just to help when I go back together. Hopefully we can put it all back.
Pop off the valve covers and cams so I can pop those lifters out. All the cam gear bolts are stuck. Well, 3 of them are stuck. Got one of them out, rounded one of them off. 2 of them are stuck, not budging at all. I got the little TikTok Instagram trick here with a wrench on a transmission bolt, and I just locked it into the clutch there. First thing we're gonna try is this big breaker bar I just bought. If that doesn't work, or if it rounds them out, I've got that extractor set, usually used for lug nuts, but I've seen a couple people use it on the cam bolts with good success. If that doesn't work, we will resort to welding an axle nut onto the bolt with the welder and then trying to use the impact to pop them off. I did try and use the 1/2-inch impact on a reducer to a 3/8 drive 10mm Allen socket, and those 2 on the passenger side did not budge at all, so we'll see what happens. All right, good news, bad news, bad news. Good news, we got this bolt loose. Bad news, this cam gear cracked, trying to take it off. Other bad news, tried to take this one off with the breaker bar with my little wrench thing on the flywheel back there, and this cam gear actually ended up jumping teeth. I do have it set to top dead center, or close to it right now.
Mark there lines up. Timing mark here is close to somewhere, I think. That timing gear mark lines up. Those 2 match up. That one matches up. This one's way off. I know when it's at top dead center, I think the pistons on this side are actually like halfway up the cylinder, but it wasn't at top dead center, so I don't know where the pistons were. I might have backed this up, hit the lobes on the valves, and might have bent them, but this is a motor we're pulling, so I think now we're going to do the timing belt timing belt vice grip, what is it called? Timing belt vice grip trick, where you vice grip the timing belt onto the gear and the cam gear and the crank pulley. So we're going to try that to get this one off, and then we'll try a extractor to get that other one.
All right, plan is to remove the timing belt, then the valve covers, rotate that back the correct way to get it hopefully lined up, see if it moved the valves or not. Do the little trick with the timing belt vice grips, try and get that off. Then we'll try and get the buckets out. I'm gonna start with the, what is that, timing belt guides, one above the crank, top left, and bottom right. There's not one in the top right, it actually is the left side, driver's side. All right, so a little vice grip trick worked like a charm on this stuck cam bolt. I actually just use these woodworking clamps. They're rubber instead of the metal. I was gonna try and not necessarily save the belt, but reuse it so I could spin the engine over, make sure I didn't bend the valves without having to take everything apart. But we did get this one loose. I'm gonna swap it over to whatever one I messed up over here, try and hammer on one of these. We'll see if we can get that last one off, then take it up. All right, pro tip on the other one, when you're loosening, I got this basically routed the wrong way. Belt comes over here, clamps against itself straight over the crank sprocket, then back, then we got the excess here. But when you're loosening it, all you're grabbing is the belt on its own teeth right here. So we need to take this part, wrap around the crank pulley or crank sprocket, have all the excess up here. So like this, around there, straight, come down over here, around there, and then we got the excess on the top. That way when you grab the thing, turn it left to loosen it, and all the torque is going this way, it's just pulling on the straight belt instead of your one little, bruh, loosened right up, no problem. Why wouldn't the fucking impact take this off? All right, backside timing covers. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bolts holding that one on. 1, 2, 3, I believe, holding that one on. Wah, wah. I don't know if you can tell, but all these are individual shim in bucket, not the solid bucket. So guess we're gonna be ordering some new ones. All right, where are we at? So I torqued all the cams on to the heads with the incorrect torque. I thought I'd gone back and done it the correct way. I just turned on the torque wrench again, found out I was still in foot-pounds instead of Newton meters. Final torque should be 20 Newton meters, not foot-pounds, on the back two cam caps. On the front cam caps with the cam seal should be the 9.75, whatever. Anyways, with all those torqued slightly too tight, that might affect the valve clearance just a little bit. These are all the measured values. I got the measured value of the gap in millimeters, thousandths, the actual bucket size number, the number that's on the back of the bucket, and then I actually measured each bucket with a micrometer to get a approximate value, and they all came out really close to matching up. So I don't think any of the buckets have been shimmed. That was my main concern there. And then if you come over here to the FSM, you can see there's a little equation to how to calculate the correct bucket size that's needed. Basically, you just take the difference of how tight it is. Since all mine were too tight, then take it off the bucket, and then that should be your new bucket size. So we did all that. And we have all the, I don't know if you can read this, calculated bucket sizes. So of course, all the bucket sizes were off. I was able to swap, I think, 3 of them out. Only one on the intake on the right-hand side head was within spec. And then I ended up swapping 3 of the other buckets into these 3 exhaust valves on the right-hand side and was able to get these 3 correct. So that way I only needed to order 4, 8, 12 new buckets. All the ones I needed, I got them in a list. Got them in a list right here. They all kind of go in sequential order. They actually have all the part numbers in the FSM. So I got the part numbers, called Subaru. Of course, they had none of these in stock. But I ordered them all the ones that I needed. Of course, these are calculated with the torque in foot-pounds, 20 foot-pounds instead of 20 Newton meters. Let's just see how much tighter that is. I think we can tell if we just switch the units. That's foot-pounds, 20 foot-pounds. So if we were to go to Newton meters, so we're 7.1 Newton meters over what we should have torqued it at. Like I said, it probably will affect the valve clearance very slightly. Also, I have heard that loose motor is a happy motor. Same thing with the valve clearances on a Subaru motor. If the valve clearances are too tight, it could be more detrimental, cause more problems, could cause valves to be open when they're not supposed to be, causing misfires, so you have a lot of other problems. If you go a little bit on the looser side, worst case scenario, you might have a slight amount of valve chatter, very slight. So a tiny bit of valve noise or engine noise, which is almost, normal, or you can have too tight and misfires and other things like that. So we got all the buckets ordered. I did think we just pulled this motor out, so I thought we would have a full set of 16 buckets in here, right? No, these are actually all the shim over bucket style buckets. So there's a shim on top of the bucket. So I couldn't reuse any of these in the motor that we pulled. All right, we did get all the new buckets in and the camshafts torqued to the proper torque in Newton meters. Everything came out spot on. We are right where we need to be. 0.35 on the exhaust, left-hand side, 0.2, 0.19, 0.21 on the intake, right-hand side, 0.19, 0.19, 0.2, 0.2, exhaust right-hand side, 0.35, 0.35, little loose, 0.38, 0.38. But all set, I'm gonna call that really good. On to having problems with the water pump.